you? Are you tired of playing the same RPGs with the same boring mechanics? Well, that's what this video is for, because I'm going to share 8 unique games with unique gameplay mechanics. So if you're interested in that, then stay along. Now, what I consider unique is basically a game that takes the formula and spins it on its head for a more enjoyable experience, making it stand out from the rest of the crowd. So with all that being said, let's get into the list. Now, the first pick is a bit of a controversial one. Yes, we are starting with controversial, and that is Paper Mario the Origami King. Now, I know we just got news for Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door, and I'm really excited. But I want to take a second to acknowledge the Origami King, because it's not as hype as Thousand Year Door, but it still did a lot to the Paper Mario franchise. Now, a lot of people say changes like that is why Paper Mario, the recent ones, are not as good as the previous ones, but I think Origami King did a great job of towing the line between something familiar and something different. Arguably, a lot of people don't like the different gameplay mechanics, but I personally enjoyed it for what it was. So of all the Paper Mario games, why did I choose Origami King? It is solely based on the battle mechanics, which is nothing I've seen before in any other RPGs. The gist of the battle is that Mario is centered in the arena, divided into 4 rings with 12 radical slots. At the start of your turn, you can slide the rings horizontally or vertically to position the enemies accordingly. Shifting rings has its limits though, because you are allowed a certain amount of time and the limited amount of ring movements. Once the player has finished shifting, they could attack with whatever weapons that they have at their disposal. So all in all, it feels like a regular battle, it's just handled a bit differently. It adds this puzzle mechanic, which is very refreshing. So yeah, this gameplay mechanic is not traditional at all. It was a nice challenge, it added puzzle mechanics, and it still had that same old turn-based combat, but with a unique spin on it with the rings and having to align the enemies for more damage. It's just a very enjoyable experience for me. Now, that being said, it did get a little bit stale towards the end because I was doing it so much, but it was really engaging, especially boss battles, because instead of you attacking, you have to make Mario go to the boss to then attack, and all the bosses had a unique kind of gimmick to them where you can't go at it like you did the other boss. So I found it really fun and refreshing, and a lot of people did not like it, and I understand why. So if you're looking for something different while you wait for the Thousand Year Door, Paper Mario the Origami King is a great game to go into. It is honestly the best Paper Mario game in the modern Paper Mario games. So that includes Color Splash, Sticker Star, and Origami King. I did play the whole thing on stream too, so if you want to watch that, I'll leave a link to the playlist. I highly recommend you check it out. It was very fun. So for number 2, I picked something that most of you guys should be familiar with, and that is Undertale. Now, I picked this one because it has a unique way of gameplay, not only in the gameplay, but how it evolves the gameplay into the story. Those two are connected, and I feel that is really cool. There are 3 possible ways you could go about this game. One is pacifist, the second is normal, and the third is basically killing everybody on the spot. So the gameplay goes like this. When you're in battle, it's a typical turn-based, but you see a little heart in a box. Now the heart is your soul. If it dies, you die, you know, that stuff. You know how many RPGs follow the same basic formula of defeat the enemy using your weapons and skills ad nauseum? Undertale takes it a bit further by adding a mercy system into the game. So basically, you have the opportunity to spare your enemies. Now, you don't just press mercy and then the battle stops. No, you really have to understand the enemy and their character. Like the dog enemies, when you press mercy, it has an option to pet it. You want to pet the doggo. Or you could just defeat the enemy. There are options in this game. If you do something nice, they'll probably be nice. If you do something bad, they'll probably kill you. But I love how they implemented such a small feature that really gets you immersed into the story and the gameplay as well. Now, I know this game is big, it's popular. I mean, MatPat showed it to the poll. Everybody knows Undertale, but just in case you haven't checked out this game, I highly recommend it. It is so fun, it's not that long, and it just has a lot of charm to it, and it's very meta too, so that's pretty cool. Though I say this a lot, I wouldn't touch the fandom with a 10-foot pole. It's pretty crazy. Alright, so number 3 is a personal favorite of mine, and that is Bravely Default. What makes this different is the Brave and Default mechanic. Bravely Default is basically Final Fantasy, but with added mechanics to make it unique from its classical counterpart. Now, I know you guys may have heard me just gushing about this game all the time. There's a reason why. It's very good. Now, the first Bravely Default is on the 3DS, which is dead. But even though I'm talking about the first Bravely Default, the second one, which is on the Switch, is exactly the same gameplay wise. Battles are your typical turn-based combat where you take turns performing actions. However, this is where the Brave and Default mechanic come in and spins it into something more interesting. Each character has a default option. When selected, the character defends, reducing the damage taken and accumulating BP, or battle points for short. If you save up enough BP by defending, you can select the Brave option. Now this option takes multiple actions in a single turn. So basically, braving is taking an attack and doing it over and over. BP is a critical resource though. Characters could go into the negative BP, allowing them to take more actions but leaving them vulnerable to subsequent turns. So there's a level of tactic into it, knowing when to brave and knowing when to default. Can you take a good guess on which one did I use the most? Brave or defaulting? Now, Octopath Traveler, which is made by the same people, has a system like that as well. So I highly recommend you check out Bravely Default 1, Bravely Default 2, or Bravely Default 2 and Lair. And for added cuteness, when you receive an asterisk, which is basically a job, your character has a cute outfit on. It is so cute. The white mage has the hat with the white dress, the black mage with the black and the dress. It is very, very cute. And Bravely Default is one of my top favorite games. Alright, next one is the Persona series and SMT series. Persona, and to that extent the SMT series, has a long history of being unique and different from many modern RPGs. And it was actually one of the first monster collecting games before Pokemon, which is really cool, but instead of monsters you collect demons. I guess that's why it didn't go mainstream as Pokemon did. The main gimmick in these games is you have to get the enemy's weakness in order to get extra turns in the process. With those extra turns, you could deal further damage to the enemy. But be warned, the enemy could do that to you as well. In Persona 5 specifically, once you hit a weakness, you either continue to beat the enemy down to a pulp, or you pass the baton to another party member so they could beat the enemy to a pulp. But not only in Persona 5 and Shin Megami Tensei 4, there's this mechanic called the smirk mechanic. When you get a smirk, it increases your critical by a lot, and many more. So you want to be smirking, not the enemy smirking. This type of mechanic adds a certain agency to the battle, where it's not just hit this with a nice attack, boom. It feels like you're really immersed into these battles, because if you let your guard down once, you're gonna get trashed. So you kind of have to keep your guard up and use all the mechanics to your favor. That's why I added it to this list, because it's unique that yes, it is turn-based, but there's this added flavor to keep you, into the battle. And I haven't really seen it in any other franchises. And another thing, even though the smirk mechanic is for SMT4, there's always a variation of that mechanic in every Shin Megami Tensei games. Well, the ones I've played at least. Alright, now to the next one, a game that I did not think existed until the remake or remaster came out, and that is Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD. Now this is made by Monolith, but nobody knows about it because it's a very niche game, but it does add a unique style of play. Both Baten Kaitos features a unique card battle system. Now I have seen a card mechanic type game elsewhere, and that is with Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. I do not like that game, so I'm not gonna acknowledge that game. Onto the gameplay. Battles in the amount of time I'm gonna say Baten Kaitos is insane. I'm sorry. Battles in Baten Kaitos rely on a deck of cards representing various actions, including attacks, defense, and special abilities. Players assemble decks for each character, customizing their available actions. This allows players to think about their deck structure, because it can make or break a battle. As your character levels up, they can have more cards in their decks. Well, to be correct, it's not called cards in this universe. Instead, they are called magnets. You can maximize the damage output or even perform special techniques. Each special having their own animations, which is very nice to see. Make sure you have a good deck. Don't let me see you with a bad deck. But overall, it's a breath of fresh air to see a turn-based game use something different than menus to execute their commands. And I know about menu hopping. I recently finished Final Fantasy VI, and I'm not lying when I tell you, a majority of my eye contact was on the menu, because I was just executing different magic attacks all at the same time. So I really didn't look at the battle all happening, I looked at the menu most of the time, and it really got grating over time. I love the game though. So this card-based structure was really refreshing to me. really refreshing. So I recommend you guys check it out. It's made by Monolith Soft, you know, the Xeno guys. Now Bandai Namco did a horrible job on the marketing because it just came out with no fanfare, but I highly recommend if you're interested to check it out. So number 6 on this list is Tokyo Mirage FE Encore. Now, I know it has a lot of mixed receptions, but hear me out. I think this game should be getting more love. It is really underrated, but I feel like fans had really high expectations for this game when it wasn't trying to be the new groundbreaking game. It was just trying to be the game that it was. For those who don't know, Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Encore is a crossover of Fire Emblem and Shin Megami Tensei with its own pop idol scene story mixed within there. That alone is really unique within itself. It was kind of like Oshinokoi before it was popular. So this being a hodgepodge of different games, you would think the gameplay is all over the place. But no, it's actually really good and solid. Now what makes this gameplay a little bit unique is the feature of this Sessions attack. Players can chain up multiple attacks together if you hit that weakness in the enemy. Once triggered, you will be treated to a lot of flashy eye candy because these people are idols, so they make everything flashy, and I just love how when they do attack, they write their signature and then attack. And I just think that attention to detail is just so cool because I love flashy attacks. I've always have, and this game is nothing but flash. Now I've had combos going well into the 20s. It could get pretty addicting to just chain combos together and see how long you could go with it. Players are partnered with a Mirage version of past Fire Emblem characters like Chrome or Tharja, for example. This unique combination of games honestly works really well for this title. I really highly recommend this game if you haven't. It is so fun. Alright, now on to number 7, and that is The World Ends With You. For clarity's sake, I am going to be talking about the Switch and DS version of the game since they are both unique in their own way. Now in this game you control Neku, an introverted, shy guy. He is forced to participate in this Reaper game that will determine his fate, whether he gets to live another day or die. You may be asking, how did Neku get into that situation? I can't really tell because that is spoilers. The way Neku tries to survive is by using pins to execute various attacks. Each pin corresponds to a specific action or power. Some can make fire, there's also lightning bolts, gravity, throwing cards and stuff. The list goes on. And each pin gains experience as you defeat more enemies. For the Switch version, you either could play touchscreen, I know, weird, or motion control. You can't play it traditionally, though The World Ends With You Neo, which is the sequel, improves on the controls a lot. Though when it comes to the DS version specifically, the battles get shifted between 2 screens. This is why a lot of people say the DS version is superior. It might not have the graphics and stuff, but the way to play is more natural than the Switch version. And battles take place simultaneously, requiring players to control 2 different characters at the same time. Neku is controlled using the touchscreen, while your partner character is controlled by the D-pad. Though what makes the partner mechanic unique is that depending on who you've been paired with, the mechanics change, adding a bit of depth to the combat. Now with all these combinations, this is why I put The World Ends With You on this list. It's really unique. The music is freaking awesome. Like seriously, it's really good. This game needs more love, so that's why I put it on this list, plus its wacky gameplay mechanics as well. Now the last pick for this list is Etrian Odyssey / the Etrian Odyssey of Persona. They both have the same gameplay mechanics though. So basically these are first-person dungeon crawlers, and you have to navigate your characters through mazes, traps, and enemies. Now this is where the unique part comes in, because you also have to manually draw on your map to take note of each area in the dungeon. Players can assemble a party of 5 characters. For me in the Persona games, it's basically the characters with their personas, so you could, rearrange your party depending on their personas. Now making your map as you go is the central feature of why this game is unique, because I've never seen a game do that, though a lot of people don't like it because of that, but I kind of like it. It's pretty cool. You can mark down different points, treasure chests, and other things like that. So that is it for this list. I wanted to make this mainly because I know it can get kind of boring doing the same old, so unique games can add a lot more flavor to your gaming experience. Now if you like this video, then hit that like button, I would appreciate it. And if you like my channel, would love to see more, then smack that subscribe button, I would appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 6K by the end of the year. Let me know in the comments down below if you have a unique game that I missed, or you're interested in one of the games I mentioned. So with all that being said, hope you guys have a beautiful rest of the day, and as always, play a good game. Peace, peace.